Hey family, Dad here. Hope you're having a great day. On this video, I just wanted to talk about me being 50 years old, the lowest point in my life. You can overcome anything in life, even the lowest points. You can dig out of it, do a little researching, and get back up. So this was back in October 2005. I was going through a separation that eventually led to a divorce in 2006. I was married for about 4 years at that time, but also I lost my job. I was overweight and I piled up $30,000 worth of credit card debt. On top of that, I had 2 babies. I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at that time that I had no idea how I was going to navigate and do it on my own. There were nights where I couldn't sleep and I was contemplating, what am I going to do? First thing I did was got back up and I started being active again. I started working out, especially during the job gap. I was able to go and work out. I got a cheap membership from a gym and I just started going every day, get back up and getting back into the gym. And slowly but surely, with a little help, I was able to lose a lot of the weight, and I've shared that on a previous video. And then sure enough, after a few months of not having a job, I was able to get income again. I was able to get back to work after a few months, and I was able to make money. Along the way, I was very fortunate that my parents were able to help me out a little bit as well during this time. Another thing I did as well was I cashed out my 401k at the time to pay off my credit card debt. Now this debt was roughly about $30,000, and it was combined. My ex and I accrued this debt, but I owned the account, so I took ownership and I took responsibility for that $30,000 credit card debt. Now, was it the best move to cash out my 401k and pay off my debt? No, I didn't know any better. I didn't know anything about personal finance. Years later, looking back and started following, Dave Ramsey and the Money Guys, I should have lived a tighter budget for a short period of time to pay off that debt and just left my 401k alone and let it accrue. But it is what it is. As I look back, at least I paid off the debt and I started with zero. After the divorce, when I started a new job, I cleared out all my debts and started from ground zero. And also when I started back on ground zero, I started a new job and I was able to start the road to rebuild my savings and investments. And then a year later, I was able to find a new job with a better work-life balance, more pay, so I could spend more time with my kids. Now fast forward to 20 years later, here I am at 50 years old. As we approach 2026, life is great. I've been through several jobs and relationships. I didn't get married again, but I'm in a great relationship. Since 2006, 2005, I've raised my kids half the time to more than half the time to eventually full time. Now, I wasn't perfect at parenting, but I made them the priority. They had great grades in high school. My oldest graduated college in 3 years, and my son will graduate in 3 years in May of 2026. I'm extremely proud on how I raised my kids and hope they live and have a great future. Now, I've also had 9 jobs in my working career. So thinking about what happened in 2005, 2006, it's such a blur. That was 20 years ago. There's been a lot of ups and downs since that time as well. And like I said, I've had 9 jobs in my working career, 7 of them in my 40s, and I've been laid off 4 times. Now, fortunately, I was able to find my next role pretty quickly. Of the 4 layoffs that I've been through, 2 of them, I was able to find a job within 3 months. 1 of them, I was able to find a job within a month. And then my most recent layoff, I've shared on a previous video that there was no job gap. So I was pretty relieved that I was able to have continuous income, even though I did go through my 4th layoff. So coming from a 50-year-old, you're going to deal with a lot of ups and downs. And I've shared, when I was 30, I was going through a divorce, I lost my job, I was overweight, and I had credit card debt. Can't get any worse than that. So if you are going through a rough patch in life, and you are going to have several rough patches in life, remember that you can find a way, with a little thinking, a little research, out of your rough patch. Life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And you can get out of any situations and you can find solutions. Some problems are bigger than others, but trust me, you can find solutions. With a little thinking, a little research, and just talking with people, you can find a way out and be successful. So tell me more about you. What rough patches have you been in life? Would love to hear it. Comment, like, subscribe. I would definitely appreciate it. So that's all I got. I'll see you all at the next video.